Hey everybody, this is the Post Movie Podcast. I'm Steve Head.
And I'm John Black.
And on this week's episode, we're going to review the movie Little Fockers, which is the third in the Parents, the Ben Stiller, Robert De Niro
Focker series.
Third in the Fockers series. And Gulliver's Travels. And do we want to talk about Rare Exports? Or do we have little to say about it?
I was very disappointed. I have more than you, I think, but we might get to that.
We might get to Rare Exports, and then our picks of the week. And again, we're doing a remote recording from Panera Bread in downtown Boston, so that explains the ambiance and the strange music that might be wafting in from time to time.
The holidays. It's the holiday sounds. Okay, so we start with Fockers?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Let's do it.
Now, so you mentioned this is the third in the series. What did you think of the first two?
Liked the first one. Saw half of the second one. Didn't really like it. I don't recall if I walked out or what. I just had no interest.
You're
I just had no interest. You know, it may have won. I don't know. I saw half of it on video and then turned it off. Is what happened.
And so this time, though, you couldn't turn it off. You were stuck in the theater for number 3.
Right.
Did you want to leave?
Yes, I did actually want to leave. And that's what I said to Ty Burr after the screening, that we were agreed that this is just a jumbled mishmash of business. This is just Hollywood business. It's just putting pieces together and it's going to make some semblance of something, but in the end it's just a jumble.
Well, I think it's the idea that when it's called Little Fockers, I thought it would be about the kids. And the kids have really, except for there's a scene where the boy watches his father, Ben Stiller, inject his grandfather, Robert De Niro, with a shot of adrenaline in the genitals. I mean, that's the only time the kids really play a part. They're not. It's not about the kids. It's still about Ben Stiller not being able to, deal with his hard-ass in-law. And the thing,
right, you're right. The title is irrelevant.
Yeah, and most of the stuff in this movie is irrelevant. It's just a bunch of lame gags strung together with an idea that's stretched pretty thin after 3 movies. And the only time, and it was funny because the only time I laughed was a scene at the end of the movie where you've got Dustin Hoffman, Barbra Streisand, Ben Stiller, Robert De Niro, Blythe Danner, all sitting around on the couches around the holidays, and Dustin Hoffman takes out a whoopee cushion and tells Robert De Niro to lift his leg. De Niro does. Hoffman squeezes the whoopee cushion, makes a fart sound, and I laughed because it was just it's sad but funny. There's 2 of the greatest actors we've got,
right? At
least when they were younger, and they're doing a fart joke.
Well, I felt the same way about the Harvey Keitel Robert De Niro
the reunion we've all been waiting
for. So
Mean Streets,
contrived and just. It's like one of these scenes where the actors believe they're funny and there's nothing funny about it. I mean, I went a half hour without laughing, and I can't remember a couple of things that I did laugh about. Mm-hmm. Maybe it was Owen Wilson. I don't know.
De Niro and Keitel, Mean Streets, Taxi Driver, Little Fockers. Something's wrong. Keitel comes around like he's the construction guy building Ben Stiller's house, and he looks like no one in water department told him not to wear that earring and goofy outfit. And
yeah, it was just goofy. I should say though, they are getting back together. Apparently, Scorsese's making this film called The Irishman with De Niro, and I guess Keitel's going to be in it too.
All right, so there's some. But they made this. This is like the birthmark they'll never erase. This is there forever. And the level of comedy and the level of writing in this movie, it's stunning because they still think that because the guy's named Gaylord Focker, that calling him Gay Focker is funny. Mm-hmm. So that's like a big joke in the movie.
That still runs.
Yeah, it's like why? And the talent wasted in this film amazes me. Laura Dern shows up as the head of some new alternative elementary school that they're trying to get the kid, the young son into.
Right, yeah.
And she's a very talented woman. She does comedy, she does drama, she's great to look at, and she looks like she's in pain saying the words in this movie.
Yeah.
It's just sad.
The movie is a rehash of just everything that had been done before in the first movie. If you'd thought that there had been some sort of, embargo between, or peacemaking between De Niro and Stiller, it just gets totally turned around.
Yeah, they drag,
just for the hell of it.
They drag Owen Wilson back to be the boyfriend who's got such a crush on Ben Stiller's wife. He's got her tattooed on his back, and
it actually gives less meaning to the resolution of the other films.
Yeah,
because Jack is still psycho, and Ben Stiller is still his character is still afraid of approaching issues. And lies out of fear.
And that's how each movie starts, and the resolution at the end of each movie is that he finds a backbone, and he confronts Jack, and they somehow make peace. They did it in 1, they did it in 2, they're doing it in 3. God help us, I hope there's not a 4.
Probably.
Do I need to see Owen Wilson and Barbara Streisand make out? No, that's disturbing. That stuck with me long after the film was over.
This film wasn't much better than Grown Ups. Grown Ups was abysmal. That was definitely worst of the year. And I think you had said that you were going to put this on your worst list, or
I haven't. This will be there, but I haven't really put together a list. I wouldn't. I didn't dislike Grown Ups as much as everyone else seemed to. I thought this was. And here's the thing, and I'll be honest, I was not going to go to this movie. I knew it. I had every feeling, every fiber in my critical being said this is going to suck. But I went because of one reason. Where is she? Jessica Alba. Right?
Andy Garcia.
I've been trapped by this before, where I go see a Jessica Alba movie because I think I'm going to see Jessica Alba do something sexy. I keep thinking that she's going to dance like in Sin City, or she's going to, do something outrageous.
It didn't happen.
No. There's one scene where she ends up taking a bunch of erectile dysfunction medicine.
Well, that's actually what I wanted to say really quickly.
Yeah.
Just interrupting your story really quickly. Just the gist of the story here is that Ben Stiller's character is being courted by a pharmaceutical company to headline the marketing of an erectile dysfunction drug called Sustens. And so this is apparently supposed to take his career to the next level, and their vice president or whatnot is Jessica Alba, who is incredibly good looking, and this provides Jack with the fuel to think that
Gaylord, Greg as he likes to be called,
is cheating on his daughter.
Right.
And then so all the espionage comes in.
And it's also an excuse for a lot of really ridiculous dick jokes.
Yeah, it's like sitcom comedy.
Yeah, but back to Jessica Alba. So there's a scene where she shows up, and Ben Stiller's had a fight with his wife. Jessica Alba shows up to where he is with, a bottle of wine and Chinese food. They stop talking. Suddenly she gobbles a handful of erectile dysfunction medicine, which I guess makes women horny.
As opposed to solving the erectile dysfunction problem, it makes women super horny.
Right, and so she attacks him, and she strips down to her bra and panties and jumps them, and they fall into a big pit and, not get knocked out. And it's like, there is that one shot of her lying on top of him. It's like, okay,
an 8 to 10 foot fall like that, she could have broken her back.
She lands right on top of him, which is one of my dreams, but not in a hole full of sewage.
Yeah,
and it's just it. She let me down again.
And this other thing that you were saying about how this has nothing to do with the kids.
Nothing.
I mean, there is that one joke. I don't quite get the whole reason why it's of such interest to them and for us, the audience, to see if these kids get into this this little human school that's harder to get into than Harvard.
Yeah.
And then I guess there's a very minor subplot where Jack is using Gaylord's daughter to spy on him.
Right.
So there's like a trust problem with him and his kid.
Again,
and then they've made the difference that the girl is super smart and the boy is super dumb, and then they just play on this. It's actually, I don't want to say funnier because it's actually not that funny that the kid does some stupid things, but it's just wooden. There's nothing there.
That's just it. There's no characters here. They're all just props. to come up with some more shtick.
And you know it by the way the movie is edited. You feel like they're talking to nobody. Like Dustin Hoffman is learning flamenco by himself. You don't really ever feel. There's a scene where he's supposed to be in Spain. It's not in Spain. It's just some backlot set. It's that lame.
And Barbara Streisand has her own sex talk show on TV just so they can do jokes about Ben's incompetence.
It's utterly disjointed movie. And then their attempts at for the big humor scenes, there's the supposedly Owen Wilson, who's super rich, throws one of the kids a lavish birthday party. Well, both the kids actually, they're twins, like a couple minutes apart. But they make the case that one of the kids is like 2 inches taller than the other, and the other is like a runt or something like that. But so he throws this lavish birthday party, and then they have this the plastic ball pool, where Jack turns in. The theme from Jaws comes up. Universal brings out Jaws.
Sure.
As a theme for Jack swimming around in the balls to attack Gaylor.
Right. And it's just, again, that's because it's a sign it starts with poor writing. That's an easy, it's almost Pavlovian. You hear that music and you know what's going to happen, so you kind of watch it.
This is to me,
it's no surprises. There's no joke. This
is by the guy who directed About a Boy, which is a great film.
Yeah.
And this is based on great material, but this is something obviously contrived by a number of writers, to be able to make a date. Which is
a bunch of writers, and I bet I'm just speculating here, but there's a lot of star power here.
Huge.
That I know.
I think it's produced by De Niro.
Maybe that's how they got him to do it.
Well, I hope this is at his lowest for comedy.
It's there.
I would have to say it's pretty low.
It's pretty low. But the same for Hoffman, the same for Streisand. Still is a laugh whore. Still will do almost anything, it seems, to try to, make money and stay in theaters. Maybe, I tried to think that, okay, what was that, Greenberg?
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Maybe he did Greenberg, or, he agreed to do another Night at the Museum and then another Fokker, and they'll back him for Greenberg. Mm-hmm. I know deals like that go on all the time, so... But that's no reason to release it on the public.
I can't think of... I'm just trying to think of what is good about this film for the second year, and I can't really think of anything... the fart joke. But there's really...
Well, you have to sit through almost 2 hours of mind-numbing blandness to get to a whoopee cushion joke with Dustin Hoffman and Robert De Niro.
Bad audio, the dialogue replacement is just... I felt like you could see somebody... hear somebody saying something, but their lips won't move. Or they cut out. It's just, it's that bad.
Yeah.
It's that bad. I almost don't want to talk about it anymore.
All right. No, I'm with you on that. There's, I think from the gist of our conversation is already over. We know, it's bad, and we do not recommend wasting time or money on it.
The thing that I would tell these actors is you can all do a lot better than this. I'm sorry. I'm sure you made some nice money, and that's great.
Yeah.
I don't... fault anybody for that, but
I do.
They got to make a living, and this is obviously making a living.
Let's pay them a lot, and then put some extra money to a better writer.
What was also surprising to me? There was beyond the us guys in the press. This was a pretty empty theater.
Yeah, for a free screening.
It was pretty empty.
I'd be surprised if it's in the top 5 of box office at the end of the week. There's too much. There's strong stuff out there that I don't think it has the. I think people are as tired of it.
It's got the marketing push, but I was surprised by how few people were there.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be a success. And on that note, let's leave it.
Gulliver's Travels, which I will say. Better than Little Fockers, but we can agree on that. However, the thing about this movie that most distresses me is this is perhaps Jack Black going down the Eddie Murphy road to family films, and that is a bummer. Mm-hmm. This is not the edgy Jack Black. Imagine what Eddie Murphy could have been, doing some real kick-ass stuff. This is not that. This is the Jack Black that's supposed to appeal to probably even younger kids than School of Rock, and they're making a sequel to School of Rock apparently. But,
really? Yeah.
So he's in for the family film thing, and it's kind of depressing.
No, and it's the lack of effort he puts into it is shocking. I mean, when
he's restrained.
Yeah,
I mean, he does. He's got a presence, an electricity about him, a thing that's aggressively likable, but without getting into the Tenacious D territory, it lacks any real bite.
Yeah.
But then again, the movie's not for me. It's it's for kids.
But at the same time, when there's a scene in the movie where he sings "War," what is it good for?
Oh my God!
And it's
my God! This is another movie that falls victim to the dance sequence out of nowhere.
And
it's just horrible.
It's him at his lamest.
This is what these dance sequences out of nowhere must come from. Like when they in Marmaduke and then in the Madagascar films and Shrek films and stuff like that. There must be some sort of a marketing thing that the studios do that say we have to have an element to this film that can make everybody dance.
Yeah.
And everybody gets all jazzed up. It's it's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, it was I think it's Shakespearean times or Elizabethan times that comedies had to end with a wedding. And it's that kind of thing where comedies now end with a song, with a dance number. Mm-hmm. Whether it's called for or not, whether anyone in the film has even danced or not, and this is just...
Super lame.
Yeah.
Super lame. Now, although, there is one thing that I found really good about this film. If you recall in the movie Up, the way they established Ed Asner's character in that just excellent 15-minute sequence where you got the whole of his life and really felt the character. The way this movie begins is we see Gulliver as the mailroom guy who's head of the mailroom, and he's hiring his employee played by T.J. Miller, who has been in a couple of films I did.
Yogi Bear.
Well, he's in Yogi Bear, but I liked him in what was that movie with Jason? The one where they were selling the Extract. He was in Extract. He was also one of the engineers in Unstoppable.
Okay.
One of the bumbling engineers at the beginning.
Right.
But so anyway, he comes on as an employee hired by. Well, at least Gulliver thinks he was hired by him, but he was not. But we get the whole gist of his life, how he's been stuck in the mailroom for 10 years, Gulliver has, not advancing anywhere. He's got a crush on one of the writers who writes for the travel section. This guy comes in as a new employee and really kind of shows him where he is stuck.
Right.
Because this other kid is aggressive, and by the end of the day, he's his boss.
Right.
And you feel the pain, and it seems that all the fun that goes into his existence as a mail clerk, as fun as it can be, is going to be gone because of this kid.
Right.
So in the process of less than 10 minutes, less than that, they went from here to there, and I felt his.
They do a good job of
that was all right.
Gulliver gets a mirror shown, and he sees how really shallow his life is, or whatever, and it does work. But
he's working at some pseudo New York Times,
right?
The New York Tribune or something.
But the thing is, that's a great setup for the movie. We see where he is in his life. We see how desperate he is to make a change. So he lies about being a writer. He gets an assignment to cover the Bermuda Triangle, and that's when the movie stops being interesting. Which is really when it should lift up and be exciting. He goes, he gets caught in a waterspout. He ends up in Lilliput with and it's got all the scenes that Jonathan Swift wrote about 250 years ago. There's a fire and he pees on it to put it out. He
basically saves the king.
Yeah, he saves the king. He drags the boats of the enemy. Gathers all the chains. All the right scenes are there, but they're just so lifeless. And the thing is, what did you think? Now this is in 3D.
Oh, I thought the 3D was really good.
See, I think that
comparatively, it was not an upgrade. It was right. It was a film that was fundamentally in 3D.
But it was also fundamentally shot where there was a lot of looked like rear projection, where you'd see Gulliver standing there and or someone or a little person in the front staring at the way it was shot, the way the shots were composed. Sometimes
it seemed
it seemed like it didn't need 3D. It didn't use the 3D to draw me in. It was like set up so that it was.
Well, what I meant by good 3D was it wasn't so much out of focus. There was a lot of clarity in this field.
Yeah.
But
it was composed like they were just using perspective, tricks of perspective, like they did in Elf, which is all about perspective, having a tiny furniture in the foreground and big furniture in the background, whatever.
Yeah.
To me, it
seemed like that.
Remember the old
a diorama?
Diorama. That's it. And plus, you remember Viewmasters? Mm-hmm. It had that kind of effect, like that 3D you see looking at Viewmasters, where it was like kind of fake looking. But
I was a little worried about it beforehand, but as I said, it was fundamentally in 3D. And the director, Rob Letterman, had done 2 other films. He'd done Shark Tale and Monsters and Alien. It's in 3D, so
right.
It seemed to have good pedigree.
Well, yeah, it wasn't.
But the story became absurd.
It didn't have that muddy look of Clash of the Titans, where they, were forcing 3D on it.
Yeah.
It definitely had a good look, but so visually, yeah, visually the 3D worked. It was very sharp and that kind of thing. But it's just the composure of the shots made me. Maybe that's because it still has to carry over in 2D to give that perspective. I don't know. There was something weird about it.
But story-wise, we should say that this fella, General Edward, is the bad guy here. He is like the betrothed to the princess, and then so Gulliver comes along and basically helps Jason Segel's character. Mm-hmm. So he's like a
peasant.
He's like a peasant who's in love with the queen,
princess,
and Gulliver brings his otherworldly or otherworld abilities to women, and the irony is that he doesn't.
Right.
It's like a oh God, who's the guy with the nose that
Cyrano de Bergerac?
Right.
But instead of great poetry, he uses Prince lyrics.
Yeah. To women, and it ends up actually working. So General Edward is so resentful that they would just he and Gulliver would just become mortal enemies. The other guy more so than the other, but this General Edward has the command of Lilliputian's army.
Right.
His fleet, he can get their workers to build whatever sort of contraption they need to do.
Because they are exceptional builders, as we're told.
I think that's one of the coolest scenes in the movie, where they build his house.
Yep.
And his stuff. But it becomes pretty absurd in the sense that he builds a battle robot.
Yeah,
like something out of
Transformers.
Yeah, Transformers. Something that should be destroying Tokyo is something that General Edward pilots to be able to battle Gulliver.
Yeah.
For the climactic scenes.
Yeah.
Of the film. Cool effects though. I was really digging it.
The effects were good. But I just thought, like we said before, Jack Black was kind of lame. The rest of the cast didn't do much. I liked Jason Segel, but he couldn't make up his mind what accent he was supposed to be talking in. It would change in the middle of a line.
That was kind of weird.
Emily Blunt.
It's hard to see him with a British accent.
Yeah,
I wasn't convinced.
It shouldn't have done it. Emily Blunt isn't there enough to really judge anything. And same with Amanda Peet. She shows up and she's good in the beginning when she's just the travel editor.
Yeah.
But she shows up on the island. And it's like, okay, now what?
Yeah, and during the whole time, she's the other giant on the island. And during the whole time that Gulliver's having the battle with General Edward, she's just standing there.
Yeah.
Like hiding behind the castle.
Right. It's like the camera forgot she was there when we suddenly see a giant headshot.
She could have joined in to kick his ass, but it was more like just being there to cheer Gulliver on.
It was something I almost feared to bring up with you about this movie.
What?
Star Wars.
Oh. Well, it actually made sense in a way because Gulliver collects Star Wars action figures.
Yeah.
And there's a scene at the beginning of the movie where he's talking to the figures, and then they basically represent what the Lilliputians are to him, or his action figures. But there is a cute scene where they take Gulliver's stories to reenact his life, and they're basically reenacting scenes from movies, which was already done in, what was that dragon flick a few years back? Where the dragons take over the world, Reign of Fire.
Okay.
Which they did to entertain the kids,
Well, they instead of building a theater, they build like a fake big screen TV for Gulliver, and it was just like an auditorium. He writes plays that have his life be The Empire Strikes Back and Titanic and every movie he can think of.
Well, I'm wondering though, what is the time frame here? I mean, like how long does it? They build him a house. They build him all of these conveniences in a matter of how much time?
I think.
How long is he actually?
I don't know.
How long is he actually in the land of Lilliput?
You get the feeling it's days, but they couldn't do all this in days, obviously. And
that's sort of, to me, it's indeterminate. Maybe they explained it, but
no, they don't. They don't need to.
To build a house in a couple of days.
They give Billy Connolly, who plays the king, with and he's got a Scottish accent, but he's a Scotsman. I understand that, but he gets a throwaway line about can we build you anything? We're incredible builders. So that gives the excuse for them to build massive theaters, giant houses, combat robots, boats.
You'd think that they would have everything they'd want, right there. So they just end up living in bliss in Lilliput.
Yeah.
But no, they prefer to go back to New York.
The island of Manhattan,
I guess.
Yeah.
For me, Amanda Peet in this film, it was nice to see her in a film that was, where it wasn't playing an unlikable character. Mm-hmm. She's just an entirely ineffectual character, just sort of like not very useful in the sense that she's participating in what's going on.
Right.
She is the object of what what Gulliver's all about, and trying to get her love and get back to her, but she's sort of just window dressing.
Yeah,
in a way.
Yeah. And that's what I think Emily Blunt is too. I mean, they could have got any no-name actress, but she's really talented, and to have her run around in a busty princess outfit, it was funny because I was like, wow, they really corseted her in there tightly.
Yeah.
And it's just that's not what I think of when I think of her. It's just weird. It's like using her boobs for comic effect for kids, or for me. Maybe it was just for me. I don't know. But I just, it was totally.
Yeah, the toilet humor is just so. I don't know.
As an aside to all this, they just released a DVD of the 1939 Max Fleischer cartoon of Gulliver's Travel, which is interesting because it was almost the first feature-length animated movie released in theaters. Snow White beat it into theaters. This was number 2. And it got Oscar nominations for the songs. It's beautiful to look at. But because it was the second animated feature, no one really knows about it. But it just got re-released in a package with some other stuff about Gulliver because of the release of this, I imagine. And it's worth checking out. I actually enjoyed it more than I enjoyed this movie. But I'm an animation fiend, so
that's interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything else I can say about Gulliver's Travels. I mean, I think the kids will enjoy it, but it's really a kids' film. I didn't find much for entertainment here except some cool 3D and the cool robot stuff, but that's all it is.
Yeah.
I don't really know what else to say. I wouldn't pay $15 for it.
No, I would not either.
It's a very downer Christmas. Mm-hmm. It's a very downer Christmas as far as big releases go.
Yeah. There isn't
Fockers stinks. Gulliver's Travels kind of stinks.
Yeah.
And then you loaned me a movie the other day that I watched, Rare Exports, A Christmas Tale. Really looking forward to the idea that Santa was a demon, and the reason he was buried, the reason he's up on the North Pole, is because he was buried because he was so bad that it was not to be released.
Yep.
And this was totally not that. I loved that idea of that premise, and this was just weird. It just became weird. It takes place in northern Finland. Starts in the month before Christmas, where there's some secret government thing happening on the top of this giant ice mound. Mm-hmm. It's interrupted the lives of these hunters,
right?
Who
elk hunters or whatever. Yeah,
they make money off the immigrating some deers up in Lapland,
right?
And so they go up to investigate this. They find out that there is something under this site, that like hundreds and hundreds of feet down. They've excavated apparently Santa. And I don't quite understand what this is, if he's like this evil demon or what, but there's this, the main kid, Uni Tumala, the kid who's really the center of the film, is convinced that Santa's out to get him.
Right.
And somehow this, the kid has read up on these stories about how Santa's actually evil. Mm-hmm. boiling and killing kids, and he'll spank kids until there's nothing but bones left. So he's very fearful that this Santa will come out and kill him.
And then the elves start to appear. The elves are just like old
Santa,
men.
Yeah, the elves are just like old men, and they're trying to unfreeze Santa.
Right.
Now, I was very disappointed with this film because you don't actually really see Santa.
Right.
The real Santa in this movie, and the real premise of the movie, what makes the whole thing interesting only happens in the last minute.
Right. Because when they thaw Santa
it's like,
out,
so what?
Yeah, the locals capture Santa and decide to sell him back to the corporation to make money because the caribou and whatever else they hunted are all dead. And it turns into a business.
It sounds like it's a horror movie. It sounds like a thriller.
It sounds like a black comedy.
You're waiting for this all the way through, and it's not.
It just skates by those. See, that's one of the things I liked about it was the way that it skated. It wasn't horror. It wasn't black comedy. It wasn't a thriller. It was kind of its own.
Weird. It was weird and totally implausible the way it's supposed to be as a Santa tale. But this movie to me needed to be totally turned around. The end needed to be the beginning. They needed to move in a whole different direction that I thought that would be much more entertaining, where Santa was the demon,
right,
and all this other stuff was going on. But it was just conceptually far different than what I thought it would be, and I was very disappointed. So I can't recommend.
It's not on your holiday list, huh?
No, no. It was. I had all this premonition of coolness, and it just didn't happen.
With all the bad stuff that's in theaters this time of year, what would be a holiday movie you would recommend? Maybe a classic, maybe something different.
Wow.
Because I asked Sean Burns, who appeared on this show with us before.
Yeah, Sean will be back next week.
And I asked him, I said, what's your favorite holiday movie? And without missing a beat, he said Die Hard, best Christmas movie ever. A, that's very Sean. But
I can agree with that.
B, I was like, oh yeah, I forget that's a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
And it is. It's a weird, action-packed, yippee-ki-yay Christmas movie, but it still takes place in Christmas. It has
I totally agree with that.
That thing with
I love that Run DMC night up in there in the
But do you have a
Mike
favorite?
Kamen's versions of Beethoven's Ninth.
Do you have a favorite holiday movie?
I don't know. I mean, I really digged A Christmas Carol last year.
Which one?
Christmas in 3D with Jim Carrey. Yeah, I thought that was really neat. Yes, I used the word neat.
He didn't mean tidy. He meant cool.
Yeah, cool, and
I'm a big fan of Love Actually. That just kills me.
We went to the. Do you remember Barrett got those tickets in Toronto? We went to the actual premiere of Love Actually, which had a different ending. They didn't come.
They go together at the airport.
Yeah, well, they did, but some of the characters did not come back. Some of the characters they did not have that reunion at the airport,
and they got added later on.
Huh. Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. Believe it or not.
But that's one of my favorite holiday movies.
That's a good one.
I know some people think it's overly sentimental, but whatever. It's funny. It's good story, good acting.
But those guys. That's from the makers of Notting Hill, the Notting Hill guys.
Yeah, and Four Weddings and a Funeral.
Yeah, they didn't. They kind of sank that whole thing with pirate radio.
Not a holiday movie.
I think we're close to the garbage over here. Somebody's dumping out their garbage.
This is a reaction to our review. I just watched Charlie Brown Christmas. Love that.
Oh yeah.
And I'm a big fan of.
I think they showed that over the Brattle, or was that Your Great Pumpkin?
I don't know.
Or the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. Yeah.
But I'm a fan of Scrooged with Bill Murray.
That's a movie that's sort of come back. I mean, it was not well received when it came out.
No.
It was a big release at the time, saw it in the theater. It was kind of a lame duck.
Yeah.
But in a way, it's kind of come back. Which is strange to me in the sense that, like, Groundhog Day is so big now with a certain audience. And I never thought that was great, and it was a total failure at the time. But it's come back. But Scrooged, I would see that again. Somebody mentioned that to me last week.
Yeah.
I should check it out again. It's been years.
It was on USA Network the other night, and I didn't watch it just because I know it's going going to be full of commercials and edited. I want to see it, unedited straight through. And there's also a musical called Scrooge with Albert Finney, which I saw when it was in theaters, and it was the first time I saw it in what they used to call Cinerama, which meant it was the Hope Street Cinema in Providence, and the screen at the front of the theater went from wall to wall of the theater. It was just the biggest screen in the state at the time, and so when Albert Finney walked across the street, he walked across the theater. It was that big, and just like, I remember that I can still sing along with the movie. It's just, and it was on Turner Classic Movies, and I would check it out just because, Albert Finney makes a great Scrooge. And John Gielgud is Jacob Marley, and I forget who else is in it, but those are some of my favorites.
Cool. Yeah, I'll check that out. I did think of a Christmas movie.
Okay.
John Hughes' Miracle on 34th Street.
With
because I was in the damn thing.
You were a little girl. No?
I worked on it for a couple days as a cameraman, and I'm also in some of the courtroom scenes.
Really?
Sitting behind the family. Yeah. I was there when they brought the reindeer into the courtroom. I was there at Kohl's department store. I was there when Richard Attenborough as Santa was put on trial.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
He was reading the Prince of Tides. In between scenes, he was reading the Prince of Tides. No.
You want Sir Richard?
It was very cool to see those guys work. But I would also say that, like, as part of being a cameraman, one of the mandates is unless you're in charge, you don't talk. So you don't talk to
the talent.
Don't talk to the talent. You're there to be seen and not heard and do your job. And if you're heard and not doing your job, you're fired. So but that was. I'm
gonna have to check that out. That had the cute.
It's not a great movie.
No, but I want to see you in the courtroom.
I remember we were filming it. The little girl who was in Matilda.
Right.
I forget her name.
She was like the cute girl of the year for like 2 years. And
a bunch of films. She was in some Robin Williams thing. Wasn't she in like Mrs. Doubtfire or something like that? The little kid from Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yes.
James Remar, who plays, I think in the movie he plays this guy who's hired by the department store to try to find out if Santa is real or not. They can bring him down.
Right.
But I remember James Remar sitting amongst all the extras, and during a lot of the shots in the courtroom, and him getting up after one of the scenes and just saying, "These fucking extras." He had such disdain for the riffraff, And we were filming this at a time when I think there was some big sporting event happening. So every now and then, one of the extras who had like headphones would, be like, "Yes."
Was this in the Chicago area?
It was in the Chicago area, and I think this was, April, March, something like that. The Bulls were contending, in one of their playoff things. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, but James Remar, I remember being kind of an asshole. But who was really super nice? You might help me recall this guy's name. He passed away. He was in a movie called Red Rock West.
Nicolas Cage?
No. Oh God, what's his name? Really likable actor, and I can't remember his name. He was in a film called Red Rock West. Say that 10 times fast. Super nice guy. Died a couple of years afterward. Now I can't remember his name. Whatever.
Anyway,
this is one of those things that, like, here I am trying to make a point about how, when you're working with people,
you can dub it in later.
They end up being a total jerk.
Show, You remember the jerks?
Yeah, James Remar. But then, but he's a good jerk. He really is. I mean, if you look at him as an actor, he has a permanent scowl on his face. So if he's a good guy, it's kind of strange.
Yeah.
But as a jerk, he's really good. He plays that well. That's what he get cast as. Unfortunately, sometimes it's true in real life. Another guy that I would that has a similar sort of. Have you seen Boardwalk Empire?
Some of it.
The guy who plays the FBI agent. He was in The Pretenders. He played their manager in the movie The Pretenders. The guy with like the permanent scowl. Yeah, with the Runaways.
Okay. Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. I can't recall.
Odd-looking man.
Yeah.
He was in Bug.
Yeah, he has like this permanent scowl on his face.
Yeah, but he does comedy well too.
Yeah,
but it's only, I think it's because he plays off. He looks so odd that scowly.
He looks like a guy like you wouldn't want James Remore or the Runaways manager guy to get pissed at you,
right?
Because that could be a scary situation.
So on that note, we'll leave our holiday recommendations.
Yeah.
Do you want to do a pick of the week? DVD, we haven't done it for a while.
I got some DVDs here because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, what I wanted to talk about, but I can't say I watched I'm Still Here, and I know you didn't like it, but I digged it. I digged it. Unfortunately, I read that New York Times article where it sort of outed Phoenix before the movie, before I saw the movie. But what's great about this DVD is the really extensive explanation. It's the supplementary material, the multiple commentaries with Phoenix, and a terrific interview with Christine Spires, a journalist and professor over at Emerson, where she talks about the whole the aspects of like a celebrity imploding upon themselves, or what I thought was most interesting about the interview was like how much power does a celebrity, when as a journalist you're doing an interview with a celebrity, you only got so much time, and in some cases you've only got so much time. It depends on the situation. But the question that she poses is, who are you responsible to? Are you responsible to yourself as a journalist to be truthful? Of course. Right. Are you responsible to the publication to deliver what they want? Or are you responsible to the talent to do what they want? And doing what the talent wants is sort of paramount these days. Yeah. So it's like this situation, this mix of things. Like you want to be the guy who is really truthful and does and does a terrific piece. Right. You want to make your employer happy, but you also don't want to piss off the talent. You want to. Ideally, you'd like everybody to be happy, but that doesn't always work out. Right. In this case, it didn't work out because she did an interview with Casey Affleck for Entertainment Weekly. She was writing for Entertainment Weekly at the time, and really pissed him off. Like he felt betrayed by the interview, which happens sometimes. Yeah. So they basically record a conference call with him and the journalist and Joaquin Phoenix, where they ask her questions about the whole process of this interviewing celebrities and who one is responsible to. So that I think you would find interesting. I found it very interesting.
And I wouldn't have to watch the movie, would I? Can I just listen? Is that an extra, or do I have to watch the movie too?
I like the theories behind what they're doing.
No, wait, answer me. Do I have to watch the movie to listen to this? Or is it
no, it's a separate. It's an extra thing. It's an extras. But it's the theory. What they tried to do, I admire. I'm not saying that the film is great. It's kind of bland. There is one really disturbingly funny scene that you mentioned to me beforehand that I totally agree with you on. It's like, what the fuck? Yeah. But it's the special features, it's the commentary stuff, because it's sort of a it's a huge discussion about the ethics of journalism and telling the truth. Okay. And so that is very interesting to me. I'll actually be watching this again to do the other. There's two commentaries on here. I've only listened to the first, so I'll do the other one. Also watched Cyrus, which just came out on DVD. Loved it. I know it's one of your most hateful cell phone movies of all time, but I really digged it. It's so minimalist and nuancical, just these little moments that make the movie funny for me.
It's outrageous, twisted fun,
says
Rolling Stone. It's damn funny, Josh Horowitz. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
That would...
And the last one I'm going to mention is Troll 2, which I picked up on
Which you have on Blu-ray, yeah.
Yes. I loved Best Worst Movie last year. Yeah. I had never seen Troll 2 because it just... if I wanted to, I could have bought the VHS cassette or something, but it hadn't come out on disc until this month, so I just picked it up, and it's as bad and amusing as everybody says it is. It's just a real piece of shit, and you can't believe that the actual actors are saying these actual lines.
Did you see Troll?
I did.
So
I did see Troll.
A worthy sequel?
No. The movie that never should have had a sequel in the first place. So those are my 3 picks of the week. Random, but
I've got one, and it's Billy the Exterminator, Volume 1, Season 1 and 2.
Never heard of it.
This is a reality show on A&E. I am not a fan of reality shows. I think they're just there for you to make fun of and laugh at people.
I was a fan of one reality show.
Which one?
The Two Corys.
I didn't see that.
Loved it.
But you like those guys, right? So,
it was a guilty pleasure.
Right.
And since then, with Corey Haim having passed away, it's kind of like, wow. He was just his own worst enemy.
Well, this is a reality show about an exterminator in Louisiana. He's a mullet-wearing metalhead with, if I saw him on the street, I'd laugh, I'd giggle, just because, he's this strange-looking little dude. And he's got a family. His family runs an extermination business down in Louisiana. The reason I like it is he's one of the most likable guys I've ever seen in a TV show. He goes around, removing everything from rats to alligators from people's houses. He does it humanely. He doesn't kill anything. He wrestles alligators rather than shoot them, and move them to a preserve. His family's pretty normal considering, what they do. It's such a breath of fresh air from the usual reality shows of, you're a dumb, big-titted blonde from New Jersey and we're going to make fun of you for an hour, or you're someone who thinks they can dance and can't. You've got no talent. There's all these reality shows that just plague entertainment. And then something like this comes along, it's a breath of fresh air. I got hooked from the first episode of, just this likable guy talking about his job of, I'm going to go rescue rats today, and
so he's really a rescuer.
Yeah, they say Billy the Exterminator, but he does everything he can to rescue the animal. Snakes, gators, rats. This is funny, and just the idea.
How does he rescue a rat?
He went into this rat-infested house and he puts down those glue slabs, they're like fly strips for rats. They're just glued paper, and you put them down with some bait, and the rat steps on it, gets stuck on a glue. This guy actually then takes the rat back and uses olive oil to free them from the glue, and then sets them free. I mean, it's nuts. But there's something sweet about that, too, that he goes to all this trouble about, that he doesn't want to kill anything. They're just in the wrong place. And rather than going and killing with some kind of gas or, poison pellets.
So you've seen a number of these episodes. What was his most tense extraction?
He went into this house, and the guy said there was he had rats in the house and a snake in the bedroom. But the guy said, I killed the snake. And so Billy goes in, and there's this half a snake laying in the bedroom carpet. The guy had cut it in half. So he's like, okay, so he's looking for rats, and he goes in the closet, and there's another snake in the closet. And it scares the hell out of him. It scares the hell out of you watching it. And then it's like this big, 7-foot snake in somebody's closet underneath some dirty clothes in the closet.
Where is this again?
Louisiana.
Good Lord.
And so he actually captures the snake and puts it in a box and then drives it out to a preserve and releases it. I mean, he wrestles alligators that are bigger than him. He's one of... It's just nuts. It's just nuts. But the guy is so likable doing it, that I've been through 2 seasons of it. I just got a huge kick out of it.
Cool.
So, I have to recommend it.
You know what I am digging reality show-wise? No. And I think I mentioned this to you before, and there's a show on Sci-Fi Network called Hollywood Treasure.
Yeah, I've seen that.
I dig that freaking show, where he basically has these... His people go out and try to procure rare props.
Right.
And in the last episode I saw, they were able to hunt down and confirm Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
The car.
They found the car in London, the actual car. It was given to a guy who worked as a mechanic on the car on the film, and so he has the people who work for him. They try and verify the props, and they need to do these little things.
Right.
And the guy in the company that built the car, or had it refitted and everything, says, when you find this serial number on the driver's side rearview mirror on a plaque that we put there, when you find these numbers, you will know that this is the car. So they go to London, they meet, they check out everything, they look on the thing, and there's and then not only that, it's only been owned by one person and rarely driven. So it's pedigree.
Right.
Its reliability, that it is what it is very high. So there's a number of things where this happens in the movies. Like there's the justice sculpture from Planet of the Apes, or one of the tickets from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. They verify these things, but the drama isn't over after that. After they verify it, the drama's not over. The other part of it is that the show is built around the idea that he has to put together his auction.
Right.
He has to write do the press book, take pictures of it and get these items into the auction so that he can, get big money for his clients.
They get big money for
huge money.
Yeah.
Huge money. So apart from verifying that this is the actual prop, he then needs to try to convince the person that, they'll consign it to him. One of the coolest things he found was at this comic book shop in New York, this guy claimed to have a Subway poster, or a huge, giant billboard-type poster for the original Frankenstein. So they went to New York, they visited the guy's store, checked it out. Turns out that this is probably the most expensive movie poster of all time, which is the original Frankenstein, I believe. Mm-hmm. Giant poster that was put up in New York somewhere. And the stories about how they found these things are just as interesting. Like somebody who's about to throw it away, somebody who kept it in a closet, somebody who kept it under their bed. And then, in the process of verifying these props, we also learn about how these props are made. And, how these posters are printed. And, there's different people that can verify different posters from different dates and, how the ink sets. And it's actually kind of a mini learning experience. They also found and verified Mary Poppins' bag. Mm-hmm. It's in the basement of somebody's house in Chicago. It's all totally and utterly fascinating to me. I love Hollywood Treasure.
The episode I saw had Erin Gray from...
Yes, she got the Battlestar... the Buck Rogers plane.
She had a plane that they gave her, that someone gave her during the shoot, and she thought it was an original prop from the TV series, and she was going to, this is her, she sells it. She thinks she can send her daughter to college, and
perhaps.
So they bring it
to needed to verify.
Right, and they bring it to the guys who made the props for the TV show, and they're like, sorry, it's not what you think it is.
And not only that, she kept it too close to a candle or some sort of heating device, and it wilted the front of the plane.
Right.
So,
which if the guy was saying, if it's an original and it's hers, the value is great. But if it's not an original and it's damaged, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, the 70s stuff is very popular. Also, the guy who hosts the show is very adamant about the fact that 60s TV, those props are huge. Yeah. And so a part of their job is also to make great contacts with, cast, crew, and other people involved, collectors, And one of the people they contact is Marianne from Gilligan's Island.
Dawn Wells?
Dawn Wells, yes. They go over to her house and they see all the little tiki-type things that she saved from the set. And they also got to see her dresses, her bikini things. And so he had to try to convince her to put one of her pieces of wardrobe on assignment, which was like, 60s iconish stuff.
Yeah.
They also did the same with Eddie Munster's wardrobe from...
and his bikini.
Yeah, his bikini. Apparently he was in need of some money. So the guy who played him some years back, and he sold it to a girlfriend, and his girlfriend had one of Eddie Munster's things. And, they showed how you can verify these things, by their the little tags they put on the back, or costume departments. One of the pieces of clothing they uncovered in a box was Bela Lugosi's costume from White Zombie, which sold for something like $100,000.
Yeah, that's the amazing thing. When they actually get to the auction, the money people will pay, and it's a crapshoot for these guys. They bring it up to that, they get it up to the auction point, and there's no guarantee that it's going to sell for $500 or $500,000.
It's so totally cool to me. Totally cool. The one I personally enjoyed was the Willy Wonka one. Mm-hmm. The girl who played
the blueberry chick?
No, not the blueberry. The one who was the spoiled brat.
Okay, yeah.
I did a convention 8 or 9 years ago with my friend Gene Crow, and we brought together the cast of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. It included even bringing Michael Bollner in from Germany to, for the first time Augustus Gloop was going to be sitting there signing autographs. So we were able to get all 5 kids together. And Julie Dawn Cole also came in for the event. And she brought with her, that time, her golden ticket. And we went up to the hotel room afterward. We were all having drinks. I was hanging out with Jeremy Bullock, Mike TV, who'd become an acquaintance at the time, great guy, also dressed up as Mike TV for Halloween that year because it was Halloween event,
right.
And Julie Don Cole, and Charlie was there too, and we had like 3 golden tickets. Actual golden tickets sitting on the table in the hotel room surrounded by wine glasses. And I'm thinking, man, if one of these spills, these are like the actual golden tickets. I was like, holy shit. And she told me the story about how she had 2 of them. In the show, you don't know this because she only consigns one to the auction house. And it sells for like $40,000 or something. Or maybe it was $25, I forget. She actually had 2. She told me that she gave another one to an old boyfriend years ago, back in the 70s. And then she also had with her the premiere book for Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, which had some amazing photos. So that was totally cool. So somewhere in my collection of photos, I've got one with me and Julie Don Cole sitting on a bed with a glass of wine and the golden ticket. Or something like that.
Sure.
If I find that, I'll put it on the website. If I find it, I'll put it on the website. Yeah, but it was cool to see that one.
It's definitely a fun show. And as an aside, we can cut this out if it doesn't fit. You know Jim at the Commons? The ticket taker guy?
Yeah.
He runs conventions now.
Really?
And he has like George Kennedy, who else?
Wow, he's going to be like
Fred Williamson.
He's like 90, 91 now.
Yeah, he's George Kennedy, Fred Williamson, a couple of porn stars.
Coming in?
No, but he manages them for tours in in Burbank, and he just did one in Framingham. But he puts together. It made me think of it when you talked about putting together the Willy Wonka cast. He puts together a cast from old TV shows and takes them out on the circuit. Yeah,
that one just happened to happen, the Willy Wonka thing with Gene Crow. I'd read an article that he wrote for some special effects magazine like 10 years ago, and I wrote him back and I said, maybe we can do some stuff together. I know some things, you know some things.
Right.
I can help you find these props, and so we ended up on a mission, which was to locate the original cast, and we worked really hard to try and find Michael Bollner in Germany. And then one of the most amazing stories of all is the woman who played Charlie's mother actually lived in the same town in Maryland that Gene had been trying to find her for years, and she ends up living like fucking 5 blocks away. It was crazy. And she's the woman who sings a solo song about Charlie in Willy Wonka.
Okay.
Yeah, and we actually got her to come to a couple of conventions. We did it 3 times. First time was at a Halloween convention in New Jersey, and we were able to get everybody except Michael Bollner. He was like the lone holdout. Nobody knew where Augustus Gloop was. And I periodically over the course of the year made phone calls, wrote to a couple German newspapers who teased me because of my lack of German. And in fact, I remember in one letter I had tried to insert, like, I'm a fan of the movie, and it turned out I was using the German word for fan, so it's something I ended up being a ventilator of some sort. But
I'm a ventilator.
Yeah, we coincidentally we found him. We found him. He was still living outside of south of Munich, not too far away from Bavaria Studios, where they filmed the movie. So quite a find. And then we found Dodo Denny, who plays Mike TV's mom. She was living in Kansas, I think. And she sent me an autograph, but she's since passed away, and I've got that autograph with Mike TV's signature somewhere. We didn't try to get Gene Wilder because we've known from the start that he's kind of like, this is not his thing. He's not into it. He was happy to do. We did help bring the cast together the year they released the DVD because we did the reunion, and then that night they went out to a recording studio in Times Square and recorded the commentary for the DVD. They were able to get a interview with Gene Wilder for the thing, but that was just with me. He's not going to do like a convention thing or anything like that. And Denise Nickerson was kind of a handful. She had a lot of demands, like limousine stuff, and needed to get here and there. It was just like, kind of a handful. But she was the Blueberry Girl.
She was a handful in the movie too.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so that is that. That is that. So it was a good show.
Even if we do say so ourselves, but if you don't agree, or if you agree,
yeah, well, let
us know.
There's an energy ebb and flow when it gets to the point where, like, oh, okay, let's wrap this up. It's over. It's over, man. So check us out online. We're at post-movie.net, and if you have any questions, be sure to send us an email. We'd love to hear from you. We don't get that many emails, so even one or two is always great.
Right.
We're at postmoviepodcast@gmail.com, and we can also be reached at contact@post-movie.net. So either of those. Yeah, I know.
You have no excuse not to write.
Getting a little fancier here with a new email address. And, be sure to leave us an iTunes review. We'd really love some positive feedback. We're putting a lot of time and effort into the show, and we just love the idea that, we're connecting with people, and so we'd really like to hear back. Now I know why radio stations would always be like, be the first caller at this, or just call in, because you want to know people are out there listening, and so it's kind of the same thing. But anyway, check us out online. We're at post-movie.net, and we're also on Facebook, and that's all I can think of.
You're on Twitter.
And I'm on Twitter, twitter.com/SteveHead. So that is it. Until next time, which may be our best of show, or worst of. I don't know.
Best and worst.
Best and worst. All right. We'll figure it out. Making it up as we go. Until next time, I'm Steve Head.
And I'm John Black.
So long.